Okay, I'd like to call the November 15th, 2017 Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Kraus. Councilwoman Meany.
Here.
Councilman Scott.
Here.
Hey, Nancy, are you muted?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm still
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Try that again.
I thought I hit both. Okay, we're going to need the approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of October 16, 2017. I'm not sure why the pending.
They're not available.
Not available yet.
Okay.
We had them on the, carried them on the agenda, but they're
Gotcha.
still.
Okay, gotcha.
We'll have them at the
Okay.
next meeting.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so then we're going to go on to items requiring legislation. So we have item number 1, which is the authorization to create a new internal service fund, number 605, to record the financial activity related to the city's employee medical self-insurance program. And I know, Matt, that this was somewhat discussed. We had budget hearings this past Monday, and I know you had brought this up to us then, so if you maybe want to just give us a little kind of brief overview of what this legislation would entail and the reasons why you feel this is something that we should have as part of our budget. Thank you.
We spoke about this at length at the budget hearing on Monday. So this is really the first step in changing how we budget for the employee health care program here at the city. So we're looking for authorization to create the fund, and we need council approval anytime we create a new fund. And as you know, a fund is a mechanism we use to hold budgets for specific purposes. So we're seeking approval to create this new fund. It'll be referred to as the Employee Medical Self-Insurance Fund, number 605. And the type of fund it is internal service. That basically means we're going to be tracking a cost, a city cost, in this case the employee health care program, through this fund. And this will help us make the changes I talked about at the budget hearing Monday. And we'll have that set up and ready to go. The budget will be ready to go on the 18th, but before we do that, we want to have the fund created.
Right.
So we'll have legislation for council. We also are required to submit an authorization to create the fund to the auditor of state, and that's more or less just an administrative step we take once we get approval from city council to create the fund. Then once we have that in place, we can appropriate the budget for 18, move resources into the fund from the general fund, as I had mentioned in the presentation again, and it'll become one of our permanent funds that we use to allocate the budget for the health program here.
Any questions, John?
Do we need legislation for it, do you think, or?
We do, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, anytime we create a fund, we need a legislative approval to do so.
Okay, I would move that we
I have
have.
one other, okay, just.
Oh, I'm
okay,
sorry.
Okay, sorry. Just so I understand, Matt, and I know you're saying that you want them, that each department will have, as part of their category, this fringe benefit.
They will have a budget line for their employee medical insurance cost allocated based on the expected cost for their employee pool and who's enrolled in healthcare. So that's separate. That'll be mostly in the general fund side in the departmental budgets, and the entire maximum potential cost of the healthcare program is in the separate fund, set aside from the allocations to departmental budgets.
Okay, but that wouldn't affect then each department's budget. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, we've increased the budgets for 2018 to accommodate that, but remember, we had been budgeting healthcare in one line in the general fund. That line gets zeroed out in a sense. We allocate the cost to the departmental budgets based on expected share of the healthcare program. And then we have this separate budget in this new fund we're creating that actually contains by line item, detailed line item, which it had been in the past, of all the different components for the healthcare and the administrative and related fixed costs will be in the new fund.
and I know you also said that this would give us an opportunity that, you know, maybe we could put funds into this.
Yes,
You
in December, we'll be coming to council most likely to transfer some resources from the general fund to the new fund to set up the reserve. This fund will maintain a reserve for the healthcare program, and that by and large will come from at the beginning of the general fund, and we'll request approval to transfer dollars from the general fund to the new fund prior to year end, so it's ready to go in 2018.
Okay, great. Okay.
We're ready?
Yeah. Sorry.
I will move that we have legislation prepared for council to authorize the creation of fund number 605, Employee Medical Self-Insurance Fund, to budget for and record financial activity of the city's employee self-insured health insurance program.
And I will second. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany.
Yes.
Councilman Scott.
Yes.
Okay, item number 2, consideration of compensation increases for employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement effective January 1st, 2018. I know this is something that ever since I've been on finance, we do every year.
Yes.
I guess, my one, it looks like we're talking about doing a 3.0% for full-time and part-time employees not covered by a collective bargaining agreement. And this has been, I think, standard for the last number?
Multiple years, yes.
Multiple years
It
we've
has
done this, and you feel comfortable with this amount and feel that we will
Yes.
be able to?
I think so, and this is, again, in the proposed budget numbers that were presented to the council on Monday. It accommodates it's up to 3% for non-bargaining employees, subject to their employee evaluation. So every employee has an evaluation, and the city's done well to establish a correlation between the employee evaluation and the actual wage increase for the coming year, in this case, 2018. So we have, the budgets reflect the ability to provide those increases up to 3% per employee within each department. And this is, again, for non-bargaining. For the bargaining unit employees, contractually, they're bound to a 3% increase
Right.
based on the contract terms. So yes, this mirrors the process we use each year. We come to council and we tandem it with the budget process. We're looking for the wage increases. We're approving the pay scales. There are no changes to the pay scales this year.
see that.
Last year, we had made changes to the minimum, midpoint, maximum. We are holding the scales the same, but we do want an approval for 18 to utilize those pay scales. And then we're also approving an appropriation for the, it's basically the merit program, the bonus program, and there are some stringent criteria. There are 3 different criteria where an employee could qualify for a merit-based bonus. There's a committee that meets to evaluate requests from directors, and we have authority to appropriate up to $25,000, but the budget, as it's been proposed, is I think something $7,000 or $8,000 for that program for next year.
Okay.
But this is seeking authority to continue that program based on the parameters that were approved by council ordinance several years ago, and continue with the practice.
Okay, and that's the employee, the payments don't exceed $1,000 per
Per
employee?
employee, correct, if they get approved by the committee.
Okay. Now, I do have one other, and I know, this isn't something you said you were going to bring up with the pay scales, but I think in my concern, or I guess question, would be more concerned with the part-time employees. I kind of hear rumblings that it's difficult for us to get, say, people like lifeguards because, the pay scales and,
Sure.
say, private health clubs or other cities are, they can pay more, so it's a struggle. So I guess, I don't know if at this point.
Well, the lifeguards in particular, that was addressed for this year, for 2017. The recreation management did request to increase the starting pay for lifeguards.
Okay.
And they did, and they did that to exactly what you're saying, to try to rely more with some of the private employers of lifeguards and at health clubs in the area. So they were able to do that, and I think it did make a difference as far as being able to retain.
Right.
Lifeguards is a good example, retain kids that are in high school and college to actually sign up at the end of spring and actually stay on board through the swimming season.
Right.
So that was one change that was addressed.
Okay.
And within the confines of the existing scale. So it's not so much a question of scale, but where, if we look at the types of people we're employing on a part-time or seasonal basis, not so much the scale, but where can we place them as a matter of practice within that scale to accommodate, whether it's competition from other employers providing the same types of services, or to even maybe bring a particular type of job classifications part-time up to the current expectation for salary. So that's a continuing thing, though.
Right, okay.
The lifeguards is a good example because it's one thing that was done this year, but I think there'll be some additional opportunity
Right,
in
okay.
18 based on the scale and what we can take on from the current budget proposed for 18.
Okay, very good.
I think it's just, it's important to do a survey about the fees that we charge.
Yes.
And it's just important to make sure that our people are paid competitively, so.
Yes,
And that does happen periodically, I would assume.
it does, it does.
Good.
I think that's a good idea, John, just to kind of see, because I know, especially with the pools, which I'm sort of involved with, it's, they can't keep certain pools open, i.e. Arthur Road, because, everybody's going back to school, we don't have the lifeguards, I can't hire lifeguards because,
Sure.
And so I think, as far as, being a public person, if we could get people and maybe have the staff to keep these pools open, it would, I think the citizens would be happier.
I agree.
Okay?
Do you want me to do it, or?
I can do it.
Okay.
I can do it.
And one note before you make a motion, this is to be placed on first reading.
Right.
It
Yeah.
will track the budget as well, so
Right.
no need to
Right.
approve,
Right.
it's first reading.
Okay, I'll move that we have legislation prepared for the wage increases for non-bargaining employees, not to exceed 3%. Also approval of the 2018 pay scales for non-bargaining employees, and authorizing an appropriation of $25,000 for the mayor to make one-time merit-based payments to full-time employees, provided that the payments do not exceed $1,000. And this is all pursuant to a memo from the finance director dated November 10th.
And I will second that. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Scott?
Yes.
Okay, item number 3, budget amendments to the various general fund and other fund budgets. We have, it looks like for the fire department, additional appropriation in personal service, planning, additional appropriation in personal services, information technology, realign appropriation from personal service to other, police DARE program, Fund 242, additional appropriation for personal services, and fire department EMS billing fund, number 217, additional appropriation and other expenditures. Matt?
Well, this is what I would consider part of our year-end housekeeping or administrative changes to the budget. They're mostly budget neutral. There are a couple that are not. But again, we take a look at the budget through third quarter and into the remainder of the year. We need to make sure we have enough appropriation to cover any anticipated expenditures, both for payroll and other expenses. So this memo you're seeing in these requested amendments are a result of that. I guess the first swipe at taking a look at the budget. We may have a few more amendments at the last Finance Committee meeting in December to make sure we're compliant with state budgetary law and we have appropriation where it needs to be. The adjustments are fairly straightforward. Fire has exceeded their budget for overtime due to some extended medical leave, so they've had to use overtime to cover those absences, and that's the reason for the request. It's a request of $125,000 in additional appropriation. I am offsetting it partially with a decrease in their other expenditure budget, so it's not a net. It's a net increase of less than 125.
Right.
Planning is an increase to correct a mistake in the 17 budget. They should have had some appropriation in their part-time salaries, and that was missed when we approved the 17 budget.
Okay.
IT is a realignment between personal service and other to cover some contractual services. They're continuing to work on rolling out they're doing a PC refresh this year, so they have some contracted services to help rolling out new equipment across the city. And then the two special revenue funds, Police DARE, it's actually a good reason for the increase. We received an additional $1,500 more in revenue from the state. So we need to appropriate that revenue, then we can use that revenue to offset payroll costs that normally would hit in the general operating budget. And the final one is for the EMS billing fund. They had some repairs to an ambulance and some additional billing fees because calls are up, and when calls are up, our fees are up, and the corresponding service charge we pay our EMS billing contractor are also increasing. So we're essentially appropriating funds that are there as a result of increased activity and revenue that goes along with that in that increase for EMS billing fund. And we're looking for the normal emergency approval since these are budget-related adjustments.
Right. The only question I had, maybe I'm just not looking at it right, was for the EMS one. Because as far as the collection, so you say the revenue is up by 10% in 2017, and the associated collection costs.
It's a percentage of that revenue.
So how
it's roughly 3% cost. So if you have on the actual fees collected. So if you have more calls for service,
right.
You have additional EMS billing revenue, and we're paying for service for that EMS billing service. That fee increases.
Fee goes up.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I kind of figured. Okay. And what is the basic, for the service that does that for us? What chunk do they take out of that?
It's about a 3%.
3%.
Yes.
Okay. All right. John, did you have any questions?
No.
Okay.
No. I would move that we have legislation prepared for council for the budget amendment request dated for November 2017, as outlined in the memo from the finance director November 10th, and declare an emergency.
And I will second that. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Scott?
Yes.
Okay, item number 4, authorizing the payment of amounts due for which the finance director has issued then and now certificates. I know this is something that we've been doing fairly regularly now.
Yeah, we started this year.
yeah.
Again, to comply with state code.
Yeah, revised code. yeah.
Only need approval on invoices that were paid that exceed $3,000. So these are the only three. At the October Finance Committee meeting, we didn't have any to present because there were none that exceed 3,000. So we had these three, they're listed, and all part of the budget. All were paid off of purchase orders. We had timing issues with them, and that's why we have to come back and get the approval to certify the payments.
Right, okay.
That is it.
Okay. What's Norma?
Norma's our property and liability insurance pool.
Oh, okay.
It's the Northern Ohio a group of suburbs that are part of it.
Okay.
Okay, I would move that we have legislation prepared to approve the then and now certifications for Norma Incorporated, Aqueduct, and Dynamo Power Incorporated, and declare an emergency.
And I will second that. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Scott?
Yes.
Okay, and then we have our last item, which is correspondence to the committee. This is from Matt Rubino in regards to the City of Solon participation in Ohio Treasurer of State's Open Checkbook Program. Matt?
This is formal notification to the committee and council that the city is going to be participating in the Open Checkbook reporting platform. It's a publicly available online, it's a website. It's administered by the State Treasurer's Office. I think it went live approximately 2 years ago. They use a reporting platform called OpenGov. It's a product. And the treasurer has been using it for the state, and then basically put the invitation out to any local government in the state of Ohio if they wanted to voluntarily report their expenditure data, which their checkbook, through this website. So we had some meetings over the past year with some of the staff at the Treasurer State, and we are going to be setting up a test site, reviewing that, and then we'll go live possibly before the end of this year. It just depends how long it takes us to review the test data and see what it looks like. But when we're up and running, you'll be able to go to the website and click on Solon, Ohio, and pick expenditure data by year, by category. There's graphics, charts and graphs that go along with the data. We'll also have a link on the city website, so you can go to the city website and click directly through to the Open Checkbook website through the city website as well. So it's something I've been hoping to get accomplished for this city. I think it's a real basic thing. It's free. There's other than some very basic administrative time on our part to get things set up. The service is being offered free, and we provide the information voluntarily on the increment or frequency of time that works best for the city. And the information's there. It's good for the public. I think it's a good goodwill gesture on behalf of the city too, and taking some additional steps to be transparent. As I mentioned in the memo, this is publicly available information. A lot of it is already on the city website in a different format. It may be in a PDF or a link to other information that we report. But this is a little more proactive and livelier presentation of the city's financial information. And that was the idea behind the program, and we're happy to be part of it.
I think this is great. I think any time that, citizens are able to look and see, and if they're wondering, I wonder what how does the city do this, or what did they spend for that? And I think this is just really a great thing for us to participate in and to make it available to our residents.
And I think the line of your memo that you put in here that I really like is, it will add a degree of transparency to our finances that is not provided by our current website.
Yes.
And I think and there are a number of cities doing it now, and we're not the first, but we're early in the game, and I think it's something that we really need to do.
And this is, it's really a good first step. I mean, we've added to the actual individual reports and other options on the finance website as an example, and there'll be more. So the next step is we get involved with the state-provided platform. What I envision, hopefully, in the coming year is also implementing our own online transparency portal. The product the state uses is very competitive and does a lot of things. There are other providers, but I'd also envision being able to maybe have something the city can also implement on our own and provide some even, I guess, additional options for reporting, but also some tools that can be used internally to produce reporting for administrators and for council as well. So this is really along the continuum I want to keep taking the city when it comes to financial transparency and online reporting.
I think this is great.
We don't need anything for it.
No, this is just correspondence, to let you know.
Okay, very
Appreciate
good.
it.
Yeah, really good. Okay, we have another ordinance that's going to be brought forth. I don't know if you, okay. Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'd like to
Yeah.
bring forward the legislation to send to council. It's an ordinance authorizing a settlement agreement and mutual release by and between the City of Solon and Karen Prosser, and declare an emergency.
Okay. I think this has been something that's been talked about by council. I guess my only, probably preference was just to, and have you, this has gone by Tom Lobe and it's okay with
He
that?
wrote the.
Okay, he wrote it, beautiful, okay. And I have nothing,
You can second it.
yeah, I can, well, don't do that. Okay, so I will go ahead and second this, and roll call, please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Scott?
Yes.
Okay, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. You moved along rather
Second.
quickly.
I know,
certainly
roll
enjoyed
call,
it.
please.
Councilwoman Meany?
Yes.
Councilman Scott?
Yes.
Okay.